What's going on, George?
What's happening?
You're pretty excited.
I'm really excited. We're doing a review today.
A review on what?
Johnny Phantasm, 1985, and I got my
Nine.
notes already ready for us.
Oh, you wrote notes.
So yeah, this is pretty exciting. We just got this in the mail yesterday. We were excited to review it while it's fresh in our mind. We might
Well,
as well get started.
hold on, George.
Yeah,
You hear this?
we don't talk about stretch goals. We don't
Mhm.
talk about anything except for the book and specifically the art, the story, and the book quality, and that's it. But the poker chips were nice.
Okay, I just had to bring that up.
Yep.
Proceed.
Okay, so this is Johnny Phantasm 1985, a
Mm-hmm.
sequel to the Johnny Phantasm 1977 that we both backed by Patrick Thomas Parnell and Evan Posios.
Mm-hmm.
This was a 48-page, all original, oversized comic, and it came on standard newsprint.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically talks about what happened 8 years later from the original story of 1977 in the fictional city of New Detroit.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the art, the story, and the book quality. But for those who want to know more stuff like packaging, shipping, stretch goals, there will be a review on the splintering by me probably in about a week. I still have to finish writing it up and submit it for review. So for those of you that want more information on that, check out thesplintering.com.
And I'll leave the link to both. Well, actually, the book's not being sold anymore, but I'll leave the link to the splintering.com below in the link below. So.
Great. Sounds great.
So we always start with we grade these things in threes, like you said, in three categories, and we start with art. So why don't you start with the art? What did you think, George?
Yep. So this is the main book with Patrick's cover,
Mm.
and Patrick did the first book as well. And as you can imagine, the quality of the art is very similar to 1977, with the same artist being on there. Character designs are very similar. Obviously, there's been 8 years in between the books, so some of the designs will be different. They'll be driving DeLoreans in this car as opposed to 77. I really like the art in this book. I like Patrick's art style a lot, and it's one of the things that actually brought me to this series. There was little things I could nitpick about that we can discuss momentarily, but overall, I enjoyed the art in this book. How about yourself?
Yeah, I enjoyed the art. I mean, for me, Patrick was an acquired taste. Now, I have some criticism, much like it sounds like you have. Um, but overall, like what Patrick does so well is make characters like different. So you always know what character is what, who. There's never blending. Who's Tony. Who's Johnny. All the rest. So, I mean, he does an outstanding job at that. And I have really come to appreciate his art style. It was a hard sell when I backed 77 because, like, normally that's not what I'm into. But now, like, I could not imagine anybody else doing Johnny Phantasm. I wouldn't want it.
Agree 100% with you. There's little things that Patrick injects into these characters that are so uniquely Patrick. Sometimes he drives me crazy, and sometimes I think he's brilliant. I can't decide which is which. I want to share a few things on screen as best I can for those. And by the way, there will be spoilers for those that are listening, so just be wary of
Yeah,
that.
I'll put spoilers in the title too,
Okay,
George.
so I'm going to do my best to share some of this stuff on screen as we don't have a digital copy of it. This is just the very first panel right here, the very first panel of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the main sequence of the story right here. You can see this van driving, and all of the words are coming from that main van.
Mm-hmm.
But right off the panel, in the gutter, you see a plow basically speeding into that intersection. And you can tell it's speeding just by the way it's placed off panel in that gutter. Like little things like that, you just don't see very often.
Yeah, he
This
really
is
has a grasp on stuff like that.
Yeah, like I really just like the placement of that, and little things like that happen throughout the entire book. That
Absolutely.
that just get you excited. You're like, wow, I never thought of something like that, or I haven't seen something like that before. There's another one I want to show. Once again, spoilers are going to be involved. This is a double page spread, and look at the action on the bottom of the page. Once again, in the gutter of these characters being chased by this monster. Like you can just feel how they're being chased. That's
Yeah.
that's gutter work right there. That's unbelievable.
Well,
You don't
gutter
see
work
stuff like this.
can have like two different meanings, George. Mm. Mm.
You know what I meant, smart friend. Anyway, what about you? What did you think?
Most of my criticism would lie with the colors. Actually, I think they were muted, and I'm not sure. Like, I kind of went back to '77. I just think maybe it's my taste. Like
Hmm.
maybe that I don't have the same taste and palette that Patrick has. But like, and then some of the pages that like, I don't have a camera on my computer, but
Hmm.
some of the pages seemed a bit rushed. It just seems to me. But it wasn't a lot, and overall, I did enjoy the art on this book. I mean, it's easy to criticize, because I want to, because I want to point out good and bad, but
Hmm.
it's mostly good. It's mostly good from my point of view on the art. So
Do you think any of the coloring issues that you see have to do with the paper quality?
yeah,
Because
but we're going to talk about that later.
I know, but you're looking at the color and it seems muted to you. Do you think perhaps the coloring seems muted because of how it's being produced on the paper?
I think it might be, but
Okay.
I'd like to get your opinion on it. But we can talk about that during the
Okay.
book
There
quality.
was other little things I noticed, and I don't know if I can tell the difference because Patrick does say in the book that he got some art assists. So
Yeah.
I don't know if these are other people finishing his layouts or it has to do between digital and traditional, but like there's little things like here's one of the characters. It's the villain, Evelyn.
Mm-hmm.
And look at her glasses there. Look how thick they are. Look at those thick wired frames. And then when you see the same character later on in the book,
She's got different glasses.
yeah,
Maybe,
so is
maybe,
are they being drawn differently? Is it a heavier hand drawing them?
maybe those are reading glasses.
Perhaps. But then you see stuff like Johnny's face right here with these thick lines going around his teeth and his eye sockets and stuff like that. But then you see him later on in the book and those lines are thinner.
Hmm.
Once again, is it drawn like that on purpose? Is it because it's digital versus traditional? I don't know the answer to that.
Hmm.
It's just different, but it is noticeable in the book.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
But overall, like I like the art in this. It suits the story very well. Like I said,
Absolutely.
there's things I love about it. Like I said, the panel work and stuff. And there's things that drive me crazy. There's one other page that I was like, this is so inspiring. I love to see it, but at the same time, it was confusing. Hold on, let me pull it up real fast. It's this double page spread here. Just an absolute beauty, everyone. And it starts here, and eye travels down like it normally would, but then you have to read across the page, and then read the page up. So you're reading it almost in a U shape. That is both unique and exciting and frustrating because I bet you I had to read that page 2 or 3 times before I realized what was the order I was supposed to be reading it
What
in.
I liked on what you just showed is like them crawling up the tunnel.
Yes,
I got a kick out of that.
me too. So that's you're talking about
The first panel, yeah.
right here,
Yeah.
which is
Well,
actually the
the
last panel.
last panel, right? Yeah. But if somebody's looking at it, that would be the first panel,
Exactly. So
right?
like I said, things like that, it's inspiring, it's exciting, and it's also frustrating because I couldn't pick up on it right away.
Right. Yeah.
But
You have to do like a triple take when you're reading it kind of breaks you out of the immersion a little bit.
exactly, but the design of the characters, the new characters that were created for this, just the whole feel of the city, the vans that they're driving, which is very clearly inspired by the 80s A-team vehicles.
Uh,
The spotlights going into the sky, the blimps flying around. There was a nice feel to this book.
Absolutely.
Um, I actually gave the art on this a B plus.
I gave it a
Uh,
solid B.
okay, so we're
So
actually not too far apart on
no,
that.
no, not on this. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I just feel like, look, this is a full disclaimer. We spend a lot of time in Patrick's streams and around
Hmm.
Patrick, so like there's some times where I get to see him draw something, and it like blows my mind. It's what I mean. So I have standards from Patrick that might be higher,
Hmm.
and it might be unfair for me to compare them to, but that's how I do it. So like I give it a B. That doesn't mean like the art in this book is not good because it is.
Yes.
Absolutely, it's good. So I give it a B. You give it a B plus.
Yeah, very, very similar. If you ask me, I'm actually kind of surprised.
Hmm. All right, so let's move on to story.
Yep.
What did you
Now,
think?
well, it's tough to not compare this book to the last book. It just
Absolutely.
we should be viewing it standalone and nothing else. But I remember both of us in chat like 6, 8 months ago saying we wish we could like have like a quick panel with Patrick and Evan to talk about what we thought, because we both thought the pacing of the first book was way too fast. Like there was so much going on to the point where it almost seemed rushed. The pacing of this book was not only extremely improved, it was darn near perfect. Like this was a very cohesive story, and I felt I absorbed the whole entire thing in just one reading.
Absolutely. I noticed that too. The pacing was outstanding, and is the same thing. Like, I still want to go back. I want prequels still, because 77 was so rushed. I want, and that's the great thing about comic books, I suppose, is like you can always go back. Characters aren't going to age. So we can always go back and address that.
Mm-hmm.
But for this story, the pacing was on point. Like, just the flow of it. There was never a page I wanted to skip or rush through. Like I was able to enjoy the whole thing. Or and it was 77. I ended up going back
Mm-hmm.
and a lot. I didn't have to do that here because I was taking my time and enjoying the book. So the writing was much better. The flow of the story was much better. And there was something I noticed, George.
Okay.
There were some underlying themes that, like, usually I don't really care. I don't, the underlying themes, but these were actually from the political right of the spectrum, and this book in no way smacks you with politics in the face. I want to make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
However, when these underlying themes are from the right, it's refreshing for me a little bit, like
Okay.
because they're always from the left, and that doesn't surprise you anymore, and it shouldn't surprise me that, hey, we're talking about big government, or hey, we're talking about this, but we did, and I was like, well, that's refreshing. That's refreshing. So I
Is,
appreciated
is there
that.
anyone specific you want to talk about, or you just want to just say in general?
In general, I think the villain was talking about canceling Johnny, which I found very. I just found that on point.
That was
For
the
what's
only one I
going on
picked up
right
on.
now. Yeah. So there's that, and there's a couple others, and I don't know if that's Patrick. I don't know if it's Evan, but kudos.
Along with the pacing, there was other little things I noticed. And once again, just for the people that are listening, we do this very basically. Art to me isn't just the penciling, it's penciling, inking, and coloring. And when I say story, I don't just mean the plot, I mean the dialogue, I mean the lettering, I mean the editing. I put all of that in the same story bubble. There was little things in the book where they improved upon from the last issue that we talked about, that I think was talked about in general. And I was so happy to see it. And still, it was a little bit frustrating too. One of those examples was the narration voice, like who was talking. Like when you didn't see people actually talking in a speech bubble, but you saw the words on the panel.
Hmm.
Whose voice was it? Now, if you remember in the last issue in 1977, there were moments when Johnny was talking. There was moments when the Scarlet Heart was talking, and there was moments when the three, I think it's the Three Kings.
Yeah, I think it was the Three Kings, and that does get confusing. Yes.
In this book, what they did, and I don't know if you picked up on it, was Patrick or whoever did the lettering, I'm assuming it was Patrick, put a tiny red
Yep.
color around the box to signify when it was the Three Kings, which is such a tiny little elegant change, but just so needed.
It's a world of difference. Absolutely.
And then, just to frustrate me, because I think they like to do this, they put those tiny little narration red boxes on a red background.
Hmm.
So now I can't see what's going on.
Right. Right.
A little switch, like making that, putting a little black line around that, or doing something different just to keep that from standing out would have helped. But like I said, that's a small little nitpicky thing. Adding
Hmm.
color to the narration was key. Now, the Scarlet Heart wasn't in this, so I'm kind of wondering when that happens again.
Wasn't he at the beginning just a little bit though?
I think you saw him in like a dream sequence,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very, very briefly, but I don't think you actually heard him speak or hear him think or anything.
Hmm.
Yep, he says 3 words: "Get behind me," and that is it.
Right.
But there's no thinking of him. So I don't know if they're going to choose to have a color for him or not, because if you're going to, you keep playing with those poker chips. I
Hmm.
don't know if you're choosing red for the Three Kings, what's the color you're going to choose for the Scarlet Heart? But
Mm.
I like that addition. That was something I definitely wanted to mention because that
That's
little change made a
interesting.
big deal.
Either just to go into the realm of where we're at, like we hear like there's a prominent letter in Comicsgate, that we visit from time to time, and he harps on that kind of stuff. So like, yeah, it's good to see those changes.
I looked through this book very carefully for copy edit issues,
Hmm.
and a significant increase, a significant job done much better of the lettering on this. I found very, very few issues whatsoever within the book.
And that needs
Um,
to be noted. I mean, that deserves some recognition, because some of these books we review, there are a lot of problems. So I don't know if Patrick got a copy editor or not. Um, if he did, it would be cool for him to give him some credit, because
yep,
I mean, that's an important job.
there was no editor and no letterer credited in the book.
Hmm.
There was two tiny mistakes. Um,
Maybe
I
Whitney read it, proofread it.
perhaps. But like I said, with two tiny mistakes in a 48-page book, that is no different than any other mainstream book I'll read. That
Hmm.
is completely excusable to the point where that's what it's expected. Once you start getting into the realm of 10 to 12, that's when it's like, that's all I'm looking for at this point.
Right.
So
Uh,
overall, story-wise, I'll tell you, I have all this written down in advance. I gave this story an A minus.
mm.
I would have given it even a little bit higher, but for a book that's called 1985, I wanted more 1980s feel to it. There was references to Darth Vader. There was obviously the DeLorean, and there was A-Team styled vans driving around. But outside of that, did it feel much 80s to you?
No, but I'm not in love with the '80s as much as you, so I give the story an A.
Okay. Once
Yeah, I
again, we're
find
close.
yeah, I find no problems with it. It wasn't groundbreaking, or there wasn't anything like shockingly new. So or but so I didn't give it an A plus, but I give it an A. The pacing was outstanding.
Hmm.
So no, I just give it an A. So yeah.
Night and day from the last issue to this. And I think part of the last issue happened to be like, it's a new book, it's a new series. They're trying to give us so much. And this time they were just trying to tell a complete story, and they really, really, really did it.
Let me say this too, because we normally review Comicsgate books, George.
Hmm.
Let's be fair.
Hmm.
Eh, Sometimes the writing in Comicsgate leaves a little be desired.
Okay.
Sometimes, so this book delivered.
Absolutely. It's no secret to you or to anyone that Rob Arnold's one of my favorite creators, and I'm a big fan of writers. I'm not saying they're any more important than anyone else, but right now Evan Posios is on my radar.
Hmm.
Like, I am looking to see what else he is doing
Hmm.
after reading this.
I agree, but I would also like to say that I think Patrick also has heavy influence on the story, so I think he deserves some credit as well.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It does say created and written by Evan and Patrick, so you're absolutely right on that. Well done.
Hmm. So let's go into the quality, George.
Book quality, we were expecting the Alterna printing partnership program. We ended up getting a different printer, which I don't see credited anywhere. But I would say if we weren't notified that it wasn't Alterna, I don't think I'd notice much difference. It's definitely standard newsprint. It feels like a standard newsprint comic to me. If anything, if I was to compare it to an Alterna book, I'd even say maybe even slightly better.
Mm.
um, there was little odd things though I did notice in this edition of the book. I actually got both copies. I got the Michael Golden and the Patrick. And I don't know if anyone else saw this or not, but a standard book is usually stapled on two parts.
Yep.
This one had three.
Yeah, I did not notice that. You're
Not a big
such a nerd.
not a big deal. It was just something different I don't normally see. And the other thing was the measurements were a little bit different.
He
I would
did.
say
He did advertise this as an oversized book, though.
no, oversized means paper 48 pages.
Mm.
This was about an eighth of an inch taller than a standard um, modern comic.
Maybe when I was hearing him talk on a stream, maybe he mentioned that it was going to be like physically larger. Maybe that's why I wasn't surprised. But yeah, you're right. There is a difference.
Yeah, it's not like drastic, and I wouldn't even give it any sort of negative grades whatsoever. It's just little things like that that I've noticed. But yeah, I mean, it's a standard newsprint comic. The cover is a little bit more slicker than regular newsprint, and pages inside are fine. I gave the book quality a C.
I would give it a B.
Okay.
I would give
Okay.
it a B, but like I don't understand. We're going to get into the colors now. Like maybe it would depend on is the saturation off because of the quality of the book, or is that how it's meant to be? I don't know. So like I can't take a grade off because of that.
I'm not taking the grade off because of that. I'm just saying overall, like, what would I expect from a newsprint book? And this is exactly what I would expect. And if you're giving me exactly what I'm expecting, that's an average. That's a C. That's how I'm
Okay.
looking at it.
Okay. So I know we both want to discuss like this.
Hmm.
We both were looking forward to the nostalgia of the newsprint
Hmm.
with Patrick. So we've gotten through 77, we've gotten through 85. We both had newsprint. I think we're both kind of over it now, like the nostalgia of it. Like we're ready to move on. Is that right?
I was over it after 77.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I was almost hoping this book would have something else, a little extra oomph to it. It didn't. That's fine. Like, it was not advertised as having anything extra with it, but I am ready to be done with the newsprint crowdfunded books. I mean, they're fine for like the $1.99 Alterna, but if I'm paying a premium, I want premium quality with the book.
Absolutely. So I would give this book a B plus overall for me.
Wow. Okay. I think our biggest difference happened to be in the quality, which kind of drove it down a slight bit for me. Average everything out, I gave it a solid B.
There you go.
Once again, to me, the standout this time was absolutely the story. Um, the voices are very clearly heard in my head when I'm reading this dialogue. These characters are alive in my imagination.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Tony real quick.
I agree.
There you go. So that's a joke. If you guys read the book, you'll understand it. So, uh, what do we got coming up after this review, George? I mean, we've got. I want to have Monster MD with Blake from the
Hmm.
Splintering.
Hmm.
There's another book that might be a surprise review. Maybe I'm reading one right now that you're on the fence about, so that might be coming out.
Hmm.
Um, the Lucent's in the works.
Hmm.
Replicator should be coming soon. So I mean, we'll be doing some more reviews coming up, right?
And yeah, and it's up to you whether you want to review it or not. It's not a Comicscape book, but I'm excited about it. The Bobcat.
Oh yeah, we'll review it for sure.
Okay.
Yep,
That's
we'll
one. That's
review
one
that.
we both backed, and we've both spoken to James before, and that book's a long time coming. I'm looking forward to reading it.
So I was not, and you're going to address this on the splintering. I want to bring it up on the stream just real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The value that Patrick gives you with the perks and everything else is outstanding. I mean, second to none for my money.
Yep.
So I want to give Patrick a special shout out for that. He really goes above and beyond when he's including things extra with the book.
Yep.
So I know not everybody's going to go read the article, even though I do want everybody to go to splintering.com and read the article. But I wanted to give Patrick a special shout out for that.
His trading cards, when he gives us trading cards, they are the nicest quality trading
They
cards.
feel like Topps trading cards from the 80s
Yes.
because they have the texture on them.
Yeah, the stickers have like this nice feel to them, like a satin feel.
Absolutely.
And the poker chips, we're not talking like the old, like you buy them at the grocery store pack of red, white, and blue chips. These are like Vegas style, thick, nice quality poker chips. They are really sharp, and I love the designs on them.
Yeah, they're the standard. Matter of fact, somebody else that we reviewed, Shelby Robertson, is going to add a poker chip to his campaign, and I want this. I want him to go to. I want him to contact Patrick and say, "Who are you? That's the one I want. I want one
Hmm.
of these from Shelby."
Yep.
So there
Which
you
one was your
go.
favorite?
The golden one.
Wow. Okay. That was
Yeah.
not a cover you were excited about either.
No, but I like it on a poker chip.
It's funny
So
how it looks different based on the size of the.
right.
I
Hmm.
like the $20,000 one, the one with the three kings and Johnny in the front, the red
Hmm.
one. That one was my favorite.
Yeah. So uh, that's our review, George. You got anything else to add?
No, just thank you to Evan and Patrick for putting out a great book, putting it out. Um, a quick turnaround. I know people thought it was a little bit late, but I mean, based on when the last one was released and this one, we're talking about what, a 6 month turnaround time.
Hmm.
And I know there's going to be 1993 later on in 2021, so I'm looking forward to that too.
I do want to address that. So I think that 85 was pulled off so well that I'm kind of sad we're not going to see 93 for a while.
It's funny you say that. I was actually thinking that to myself privately. I want the next issue now because the story ends very nicely, but there's a little maybe like 2 or 3 page ending, like a teaser for the next story,
Mm-hmm.
and it ends with to be continued. Now, listen, to whoever hasn't read this yet, the story is complete on this. They add a little 2 to 3 page teaser at the end for the next story, and I want to know what's going on. And you're right,
Exactly.
like because that happens, I wish that's what was the next release.
Mm-hmm.
But Ultra Star still looks good.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I want to point out that Patrick and Evan have outstanding customer relations, fan interaction. Both of those guys are great, and that needs to be. I think we get used to it in Comicsgate because all the creators around here are really good with the fans, but those guys are really good with the fans, George. Like
If
really good.
if only Patrick would provide more updates during the campaign. Like,
Mm,
yes, when I have a problem, if I email him, get back to me right away. And I know he's a busy guy, but man, I need to see more updates.
mm.
Seven updates throughout the entire campaign was just not enough for me.
So you're going to ask your normal question at the end of the reviews?
Oh, you're right. The questions normally are you glad you backed it and would you back it again? So my question to you, are you glad you backed it?
Yes,
Would you back it
absolutely.
again?
I will back. Not only will I back Johnny Phantasm again, but this book ensures that I will back Ultra Star.
Agree with you 100% on both.
Well, all
All
right,
right.
guys, that's it. We will see you later tonight. We have a stream if you're watching this on the same day. If not, George and I will come back with another review next time we both receive a book we backed. We appreciate your time.
Later, everyone.